What questions do citizens have for the German EU Council Presidency? Their new series answers 3 questions from the population, this time on the subject of transport. First is, what is Germany doing to get more goods off the road and onto the rails? Germany is the world champion in logistics. Its central geographical location in Europe and its highly qualified logistics services offer optimal conditions for foreign shippers to successfully develop European markets. Forecasts predict a significant increase in freight traffic. According to the current traffic forecast, freight traffic will increase by 38% by 2030 compared to 2010, an increase that our roads and motorways cannot handle on their own. All modes of transport are required for this, and each mode of transport must be able to make the best possible use of its respective system advantages. It is therefore the aim of the federal government to better interlink the modes of transport and to shift more traffic to the rail and waterways. To do this, shippers and forwarding agents first need to access to both modes of transport. In addition to private sidings, intermodal transshipment facilities are also possible. The relocation of the transport of goods to rail is dependent on the existing infrastructure, successfully operating railway companies with innovative products, and the budget, among other things, with taxes, duties, and that's all dependent on each other. In addition, general trends in the industrial and business location, such as the goods to be transported here, have an impact on rail freight transport. To promote SGV, the German Federal Ministry of Transport and Digital Infrastructure developed the Rail Freight Transport Master Plan together with the rail transport industry. This contains 10 fields of actions with a total of 66 individual measures as well as 5 immediate measures to strengthen rail freight and create better conditions for an increased shift of freight from street traffic to rail. An immediate measure is the lowering of train path prices in rail freight with additional federal funds of 350 million euros per annum over 5 years since July 1st, 2018, based on a funding guideline notified by the European Commission. In order to promote single wagon traffic as an alternative to the transports of goods by road, fees and service facilities are also to be promoted in the coming year. Both are intended to help minimize the cost disadvantage of rail compared to road. The federal program for the future of rail freight transport is being implemented as a further immediate measure. Its aim is to increase the profitability and logistical capability of rail freight transport by supporting innovations, particularly in the field of digitization, in order to transport more goods by rail in the long term and thereby relieve both the climate and the road infrastructure. This should help the railway companies to further develop their products for the transport of goods by rail so that they are attractive to customers. A long-term measure is the new construction and expansion of the rail network to remove bottlenecks on routes, for example in Germany the Ruhr-Sieg route, and enlarge railways hubs such as Cologne, Frankfurt and Hanover. Maintaining the existing rail network is just as important. The Federal Ministry of Transport and Digital Infrastructure provides the appropriate budget for this. With the service and financing agreements for the Deutsche Bahn AG network and through the Rail Freight Long Distance Network Funding Act for the networks and routes of the non-federally owned railways. The upgrading of the rail network for longer trains was also tackled in order to be able to increase the previously possible maximum length of the freight trains from 700 to 740 meters. In addition, the Federal Ministry of Transport and Digital Infrastructure supports the construction, expansion and reactivation of sidings of private companies. And finally, number 2, how is broadband expansion funded in Germany? The federal government has set itself the goal of enabling high-performance broadband coverage nationwide. I know Germany is quite behind in some cases what that is regarding. The federal government is relying in particular on fiber optics in order to enable gigabit-compatible connections across the board by 2025. And me too. I'm really curious if that is going to work. For areas in which there is no commercial expansion, there is the possibility of applying for funding from the municipality, the district or a special purpose association from the federal fundings program for the nationwide expansion of fast networks to support broadband expansion in the Federal Republic of Germany. In terms of funding, priority should be given to projects in areas in which private sector expansion is particularly uneconomical due to particular difficulties. Fast broadband connections are essential for companies and public institutions and an important location and competitive factor. The provision of broadband and mobile communications infrastructure is therefore a prerequisite for political, social and economic participation in all areas of life. The governing coalition has recognized this at the federal level and included a legal right to fast internet in the coalition agreement. And number 3, is Germany also promoting the construction of private charging stations for electric vehicles? Yes. From November 24, 2020, funding applications for private charging stations can be submitted to the KfW. Funding is provided for the acquisition and construction of a brand new non-publicly accessible charging station, including the electrical connection, the grid connection, as well as the associated necessary ancillary work on parking spaces in existing residential buildings in Germany if, among other things, the charging station has a normal charging power of 11 kilowatts, 100% of the electricity comes from renewable energies, and the charging station is intelligent and controllable with a view to serving the grid. The European Union thrives on the interest and commitment of its citizens. So they want to know, what questions do you have for the German EU Council Presidency? What exactly would you like to know from the people in the ministries who prepare and take the political decisions? For this purpose, in their 3 questions, 3 answers format, the German government put citizens' questions on key topics of the European Council Presidency to vote on their social media channels. They then answer the 3 most clicked questions on eu2020.de. And if you now want to know more about European or global politics, YouTube has chosen another of my videos right here for you in the end screen, right next to your chance to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in my next video. Click and enjoy. Viel Spaß!